Skidoo, 2 thumbs down. You suck. All I do know is that my Polaris was in the same container as this for the same amount of time, and my Polaris does not have a speck of corrosion on it. So they obviously lied to me at the Skidoo dealer. They ripped me off for $800 for the warranty, which they wouldn't honor, and they wanted me to spend another $5,500 on a new engine. Paid a lot of money for it, paid a lot of money for the warranty, and I got nothing in return. So, let the buyer beware. Your Skidoo warranty, not worth the paper it's written on. If something happens, you're on your own, buddy. Pretty disappointing, Skidoo. I know one thing, I'll never buy another Skidoo. This is the engine out of my 2015 Skidoo Scandic. It's a 600 E-Tech engine, which obviously you can see I have it torn apart at the moment. Back in 2017, I bought a brand new Skidoo Scandic snowmobile from the dealership, and it was a prior year's model, but still it was brand new. It was never sold. I paid an extra $800 for the warranty for this sled because I planned on keeping it forever and never getting rid of it, because it's a sled that I really kind of needed to go out in the woods and do some work with and pull a trailer once in a while and stuff like that. So I figured a Scandic would be a good machine for that. When I bought this snowmobile back in 2017, I was working for my uncle Sam in the Middle East, so I wasn't home very often. I didn't put a lot of miles on this snowmobile. I did use it a little bit, and then I would put it in my storage container for safekeeping when I was out of town. 2019, at the end of the season, I put the sled in the container like normal. And of course, late 2019, I wasn't around because I was out of the country. And early 2020, that's when the COVID crap all started, when I was in Iraq. And they shut down the airports and the airlines and all that stuff. So I ended up getting stuck in Iraq for most of 2020. I didn't get back until late in the year. And then I ended up having to go to Central America for a while. And I didn't actually get back home until January of 21. At which time I took the snowmobile out of the container and proceeded to try to get it going. And of course it wouldn't start. So finally I figured, well, no big deal, it's got the warranty, I'll just take it back to the dealer and have them get it going for me. So after some time I finally heard back from the dealer, and they asked me if it had ever been underwater, if it broke through the ice and went in the lake or something like that. And I said no, I've never had it dunked in the water. This sled only has 1,100 miles total since new. So the Skidoo dealer accused me of dunking the snowmobile in the water, and they said it was my fault, that it was all corroded, and that Skidoo wouldn't honor the warranty because it was my fault. The engine block has corrosion on it. The secondary clutch, I mean, I've cleaned it up a little bit with Scotch-Brite, but it still has corrosion on it. There's still some corrosion on this engine case and on the primary clutch. The mechanic at the Skidoo dealer said that this engine is totally corroded and that it's not repairable, can't be fixed, and they tried to sell me a brand new engine for $5,500. I did not buy the engine, obviously, and I took the sled back, and I'm finally getting around to working on it, and I finally took this engine apart, and there's not a speck of corrosion underneath the cylinders. They're clean. They told me at the Skidoo dealer that the crank was corroded, the cylinders are corroded, everything was corroded on this thing. You can see there's some corrosion on the outside of the cylinders. Definitely there is some corrosion on the outside, but the inside is pretty much spotless. There's still cross-hatching on the cylinders. I mean, there was some carbon buildup on these exhaust port valves, whatever you call them. And the number one piston, the ring was stuck on the piston, and obviously it wasn't making any compression with the ring being stuck. I also found that the intake boots were both badly corroded and cracked, and there was a big air leak on both of them. I think this, combined with the stuck ring, is why the engine wouldn't start. And I think the reason the ring stuck is because the intake boots had the air leak before all this happened. I think they were corroded, and the engine was running lean and overheated the piston and stuck the ring. Both of the pistons look like they've been pretty hot because they're both scorched on the bottom. They told me at the Skidoo dealer that this engine was not repairable. I had to buy another one. So now I'm finding out that they lied to me, that there's zero corrosion inside the engine. On the crankshaft, looks fine. So I got some new pistons. Since I got it apart, I'm just gonna throw some new pistons in it and rings and put it back together. That being the case, I don't see how this engine is not rebuildable. So they obviously lied to me at the Skidoo dealer. They ripped me off for $800 for the warranty, which they wouldn't honor, and they wanted me to spend another $5,500 on a new engine. So let the buyer beware. Your Skidoo warranty, not worth the paper it's written on. If something happens, you're on your own, buddy. So how is it that this snowmobile got so much corrosion on it? The only thing I can think of is that it might have been transported on an open trailer in the wintertime. The county around here dumps tons of salt on the road to melt the snow and the ice. And when you drive across the roads that are a sloppy, slushy, briny mess, that sprays everywhere. And if you have anything on a trailer, it will be completely coated in salt. And obviously that would cause corrosion. Since I've owned this machine, I've never transported it on an open or a closed trailer. I know the dealership where I bought it has several locations across the state. Maybe they transported it on an open trailer at some point in the winter. Maybe they transported it between dealerships. I don't know. The only other possible explanation that I can think of is wherever this thing was put together, if it was transported on a container ship across the ocean, if the container came open and was exposed to salt air, maybe that would do it. I don't know. All I do know is that my Polaris was in the same container as this for the same amount of time, and my Polaris does not have a speck of corrosion on it. When I owned this machine, it was only ridden on the trails, a little bit in the woods, and I never trailered it at all since I owned it, so I never put it on salty roads. So why is this engine all corroded? Why are the clutches all corroded? Skidoo? This thing was in a container right next to a Polaris. The Polaris doesn't have a speck of corrosion on it. And the Polaris is an older machine. Why do you think that is, Skidoo? Not too happy with Skidoo. They took my money for the warranty. They wouldn't honor it. They accused me of lying to them. They accused me of dunking my snowmobile in the lake. Speaking of which, here in Upper Michigan, the lakes are all freshwater. The rivers are freshwater, the lakes are freshwater. So even if I did dunk this thing in the lake or in the river, it's not salt water. So how would it be so corroded? I always wanted a new Skidoo since I was a kid. I always thought they were the best snowmobiles. Well, I finally got one, and it's been a nightmare. Paid a lot of money for it, paid a lot of money for the warranty, and I got nothing in return. Pretty disappointing, Skidoo. I don't think that Skidoos are the best anymore. My Polaris is an older machine, and it's still running. Doesn't have a speck of corrosion on it. Skidoo, not so much.